Hi friends, welcome to Toppscholars, the smart learning app. Again, we are back for your preparations of board examinations from the chapter Chemical Reactions and Equation, and we will be solving some of the previous year question from Maharashtra board 10th. So let's dig in with it. So let's first look at the questions that were asked and the weightages given. So as you can see that we have had marking scheme from 1 mark to 5 marks, and if we can see from here that in 2019 one question for 1 mark was asked, one question was asked for 1 mark in 2021 and another 1 mark question was asked in 2023. So every alternate year we have been getting 1 mark question from this chapter. So total questions we are going to discuss here of 1 mark are 3. So total marks that we are going to cover of 1 mark question is 3 marks. Now for 2 marks question, we have had 1 question in 2021, 1 in 2022 and 2 questions in 2023. So total 4 questions from last 5 years, and the total mark it comprises are 8 marks. Now for 3 marks question, we can see that we have had at least 1 question every year in last 5 years. So we have now total 5 questions from last 5 years carrying total 15 marks. Right? So maximum number of questions from this chapter are of 3 marks if you notice. Now for 5 marks question, we have had 1 question in 2020 that we will be discussing in detail. So total 5 marks question we have from this chapter in long answer, right? So if we see the graphical representation of all the year wise question asked in from 2019 to 23 in this chapter, we can see that every year we have had at least 2 questions from this chapter. In 21 we had 3 questions from this chapter, and in 2023, that is last year, we had maximum number of questions, that is 4 questions, and that too if you see that we have had consistently 3 marks question every year from this chapter and also 2 marks question. Just once we had 5 mark question, that was in 2020, right? So we have enlisted these questions which were asked in last 5 years for your benefit, and we will also be discussing how to solve these questions in detail. So let's go ahead and look at these questions. Let us begin with the question asked in 2019 carrying 1 mark. It's an MCQ type question. So the question goes like this. The reaction of iron nail with copper sulfate solution is dash reaction. The options are A. Combination reaction, B. Decomposition reaction, C. Displacement reaction, or D. Double displacement reaction. So now we will be solving this. We will write an equation and we will see what kind of reaction that is. So if you react iron nail with copper sulfate, what would happen? What do you think? There would be a displacement reaction, right? So our correct answer would be C, displacement reaction, correct? Now let's move on to the next question. Study the following chemical reaction and answer the questions given below. This is also a question asked in 2019 carrying 3 marks. It's a short answer type question, and you have to study the following chemical reaction, which is AgNO3 plus NaCl, which results in AgCl and NaNO3 that comes out as a precipitate. Now based on this you will have to answer these 3 questions based on this reaction. The first one is identify and write the type of chemical reaction. Okay, so now what do you see happen? So here you can see that from AgNO3, AgNO3 reacts with NaCl and results in AgCl and NaNO3. So this looks like a double displacement reaction, right? Write the definition of above type of chemical reaction. Now that we have established it's a double displacement reaction, you will simply have to define what is a double displacement reaction. Now third is write the names of reactants and products of above reaction. It can't get simpler than this, right? You just have to mention which are the reactants. Reactants are the AgNO3, that is silver nitrate, and NaCl, which is our sodium chloride. And what are the products? That is AgCl and NaNO3, right? So that is our silver chloride and sodium nitrate. So this is all you have to do, and you get how many marks? 3 marks, right? So this is actually a very simple question, and I'm sure you will be able to answer this if asked in your examination. So let's look at the next question here. Now we move on to the next year, that is 2020. This was asked, and you have 2 questions here, one of 3 marks and one of 5 marks. So if we solve these 2, we will get 8 marks straight, right? So now the first question, which is a short answer type question carrying 3 marks, it goes like this. Complete the given chemical reaction. Again, very simple. Copper sulfate and your ferrous or iron in solid form. They react and form what? You have to complete the chemical reaction. Now, since iron is more reactive than copper, it will displace copper and form what? Ferrous sulfate, and copper will be released, right? So this is a displacement reaction. You just have to complete the reaction. You just have to mention the products here. Okay, and now name the type of reaction. We just said this is a displacement reaction because ferrous being more reactive than copper, it displaces copper and reacts with copper sulfate forming ferrous sulfate, right? Now, the next question, observe the following picture and answer the following question. What does it look like? This is an iron. It is already given. It's a iron surface. Here it is acting like cathode and it is acting like anode, and there is some reaction going on forming, what is this? It's a rust, right? So this process, entire process is a rusting process. So now we know this is the collection of rust. Here you can see water droplets as well, and there are some reactions going on. So everything is actually given in this entire picture. So now based on this, you have to answer the following question. A, what is a rust? Okay. B, write the chemical formula of rust. I feel it's already given here, right? The chemical formula of rust. Write the reaction of oxidation of iron at anode. Then write the reaction of oxidation of iron at cathode. So again, if you can see, there is the reaction mentioned. We will discuss this further in subsequent slide. Then what is corrosion? Okay, so we will answer these questions in detail in our subsequent slide. We will discuss that and let's see if it makes sense. Now let's move on to the next question here. So now we are again moving to the next year, that is 2021. Here we have 3 questions, one question of 1 mark, one of 2 mark and one of 3 marks. So we have total of 6 marks here in 2021. One is very short type question, one is short answer and another one also short answer but carrying 3 marks. So let's see what is the first question, which is a very short answer type question giving you 1 mark. State true or false. In chemical equation, we write the reactants on the right and product on left. Is that true? Of course not. This is false. We always know that we start from the reactants on the left hand side and moving on to the right hand side, we have our products, right? So this is obviously false, and we can also write what is the correct sentence then. Now second one, that is a short answer type question carrying 2 marks. Balance the following chemical equation. So do not write step by step. Here it is already mentioned because it is just 2 marks question. So do not waste time in writing it step by step. Just balance the chemical equation. Just write the final balanced chemical equation, and we are not going into detail because I am absolutely sure that you would be able to balance the reaction by now. What is the chemical formula of rust? Now this is a 3 marks question. It has 2 parts, so we can assume that 1.5 marks for one question A and 1 for B. So the first one is, what is the chemical formula of rust? We have seen it in the previous question and we will be discussing it further as well. So we will know the chemical formula of rust. Then B is, write the chemical reaction of electric current passing through positive and negative surface of iron. So as we already know, in the process of rusting, on the surface of iron, certain places act as anode and certain places act as cathode. So you have to mention the reaction occurring at anode and cathode. So again, we will be discussing it further in our subsequent slide while we are discussing the previous question, which is a 5 mark question. Okay, so we will also be able to answer these questions once we discuss that. So let's move on. Now we come to 2022. So in this year, we have 2 questions, one of 2 mark and one of 3 mark. Both are short answer question. The first question gives scientific reason. It is recommended to use airtight container for storing oil for a long time. Why would we do so? What does airtight container do? It restricts the contact of oil with air, right? And why is that so? Because the oil reacts with oxygen in the surrounding and it changes its properties, right? So what we have to write here is, what is the reaction that takes place, and so to avoid that reaction and forming a product which is not a desired product, that is the reason why it is recommended that we store oil in an airtight container. Now again, there is this another question which is a short answer type question. You just have to balance these equations, right? So you just need to balance 3 equations and you get 3 marks straight, and balancing is not a difficult task, you know that, right? Now let's move on to 2023, that's our last year. Now we have to complete the correlation. So what is the correlation here? If you can see, this is a 1 mark question. It's a very short answer and it's a very easy no-brainer question. You have seen that CuI2, that is in brown color, and AgCl, so we will definitely have to mention the color, and AgCl is white in color. So we'll just write white here, right? This is it. You get 1 mark. Now second question, it's a short answer question carrying 2 marks. Give scientific reason. Lemon or tamarind is used for cleaning copper vessel turned greenish. So we know over the time copper reacts with moisture and oxygen in air and it turns greenish. So to remove that, we use lemon or tamarind. What does lemon and tamarind contain? Acids, right? So which acids are those, and what is the product that forms which is greenish in color? So we will have to show the reactions between those and how it is used to neutralize that greenish compound, right? So that is why we are going to give a scientific reason for this one as well. Now the next question is a short answer type question carrying 2 marks. Complete the following reaction. C12H22O11 heat forms what? So again, we will discuss this further in our subsequent slide. Let's move on. So now here again, one more question that is of 3 marks, short answer. Identify the physical and chemical changes from the following phenomena. So what are the physical changes and the chemical changes? Physical changes are reversible, chemical changes are irreversible. So let's see what among these options are physical and what are the chemical changes. So A is transformation of ice into water. That's obviously a physical change. Ripening of fruit. Can we reverse this change? No. So this is a chemical change. Milk turned into curd. Again, a chemical change. Evaporation of water. physical change. Digestion of food in the stomach, chemical change. Iron filling gets attached towards the magnet. That's also a physical change. So, we have answered all of them in less than a minute and we have earned ourselves 3 marks, right? Now, let's solve the 5-mark question that we have parked for later. So, this is a very important question, and if you are able to answer this question, then you will be also able to answer few more questions which are similar to this based on this entire topic, and you will be able to gain a lot of marks in different sections. So, this question of 5 marks contains 5 more sub questions. So, we will be answering it one by one. So, now if you have observed the picture, almost entire information is given in the picture as well, right? So, we know that this is a iron surface, and on the iron surface, what is happening? It is reacting with oxygen and water droplet, and it is forming a region of cathode and anode on the surface, and there is a reaction occurring on both these places which is leading to the formation of rust, right? So, this is a rusting process. So, we have to answer the questions given here based on whatever is going on in this picture. So, let's see what is the first question. The first question is, what is a rust? Okay, so let's try to answer these. So, let's look at the solution here. So, rust. Rust is reddish brown colored hydrated ferric oxide layer deposited on the surface of iron objects that are exposed to moist air. What does moist air contains? H2O and oxygen, right? So, when it is exposed to moist air, what happens? Rusting takes place and it gets deposited on the surface of the iron as a reddish brown colored hydrated ferric oxide layer, right? Now, let's move on to the second question. What is the chemical formula of rust? If you had noticed on the diagram itself, the chemical formula is given. The chemical formula of rust is Fe2O3 XH2O. Okay, now see. Reaction of oxidation of iron at anode. So, what is taking place at anode? This is the reaction. Fe in solid form is converted into ferrous iron Fe2 plus in aqueous state and 2 electrons are produced. Then what happens in the cathode? So, at the cathode stage, where on the iron itself there is an anode region and the cathode region. So, at anode we saw the reaction, while at cathode what happens? This ferrous iron that was produced, it then gets converted into Fe plus 3 ferric iron and electrons are released. Then the metal gets attacked by the substance around it such as moisture, air, acids, etc. Metal is said to corrode due to this attack and the process is called corrosion. So, this answers our last and final question, what is corrosion? So, I hope you found it really easy and then you will be able to answer all other questions which comes from this particular topic, rusting, corrosion of iron, and you will also be able to know the exact reaction taking place. Let's move on to the next question. What is chemical formula of rust? So, this is again repeated and it is also a 5-mark question. So, it has 2 sub-parts. What is chemical formula of rust? Then write the chemical reaction of electric current passing through positive and negative surface of iron. So, we are going to answer this again. Alright, now this time what we are doing is we are passing an electric current through positive and negative surface of iron. So, in that case what happens? We will answer that. Okay. So, again what is the chemical formula of rust? By now we should have been remembering that. The chemical formula of rust is Fe2O3 XH2O. So, this is the chemical formula of rust. Now, next is write the chemical reaction of electric current passing through positive and negative surface of iron. We are passing electric current. So, now when electric current is passed through positive and negative surface of iron in the presence of electrolytes such as an acid solution, okay? We are having acid solution now as an electrolyte added to it, and we are passing electric current. Otherwise, there won't be the transfer of charges that easily. So, we need an electrolyte solution, right? So, that is an acid solution. Now, the following chemical reactions take place. What are these? At the anode, that is a positive surface, what is happening? Fe is giving rise to 2 electrons, Fe2 plus is produced. Okay, this is an ion formation takes place. Now, what happens at the cathode? That is the negative surface. What happens there? So, oxygen, it reacts with the water. It forms 2 water molecule in presence of H plus and electrons. Okay. Now, what overall reaction takes place? So, ion reacts with the H2O and forms Fe2O3H2O. This is our hydrated ferric oxide, right? And then 6H plus is produced, right? So, this is the reaction that occurs when electric current is passed through positive and negative surface of ion. Okay, so let's move on to next question. Now, this question was asked in 2021. So, let's look at the next question now. What was asked in 2020, again carrying 5 marks. Identify the physical and chemical changes from the following phenomena. I think we have already discussed that. Now, let's look at the solution and see if we are correct. Okay, it's a 5 marks question. All you have to do is identify among these which one is a chemical or physical changes. Okay, so we will try to answer that based on what we know is physical changes are reversible, chemical changes are irreversible changes. So, let's see the solution. Transformation of ice into water is physical change. Ripening of fruit is chemical change. Milk turned into curd, can we reverse it? Of course not. So, that's a chemical change. Evaporation of water, that's a reversible phenomena, that is a physical change, right? Then digestion of food in stomach, again a chemical change. Iron filling get attracted towards the magnet, that is also a physical change. So, I hope you were able to answer these questions correctly, and I wish you all the best for these answer preparations for your board examination.